start the webinar. Okay.
Yes. And the live stream has started. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk webinar series. And tonight we're going to be talking about defining neurodiversity and the shared relationship with trauma. I am Reverend Dr. Deborah Stapleton, and this is exciting. And we're going to be here for an hour. And we hope that you receive information and move forward with the information. I'm going to just change my position in a few minutes because I see the sun is just really trying to give me some background fuzzy. But I want to introduce and to thank I am the Interfaith Action Movement for this time of coming together with my sister's lighthouse. And so we know that I will introduce Reverend Green as and who is the founder of the Interfaith Action Movement. And I'll just say a brief word before I introduce him about Jacqueline Limehouse, who is the founder and CEO of My Sister's Lighthouse. Jacqueline Limehouse is a survivor, an advocate, and nationally recognized speaker with over 25 years of experience in domestic violence advocacy. She holds degrees in psychology and public administration, and she's pursuing her PsyD in psychology. Wow, fantastic. As the founder of My Sister's Lighthouse, she has led support groups, batterers groups, intervention programs, as well as large scale community awareness efforts. And Sister Limehouse uses her powerful personal story and creativity to express and to inspire healing, empowerment, and transformation. And so we are just so excited that she and Reverend Green have teamed up bringing the two organizations together. Amen. And let me just tell you about Reverend. I will say Reverend Doctor. That's prophetic because we know that that's going to happen soon. That's going to happen soon. We're going to make sure that he gets in and gets that doctorate as well. Reverend Green is a nationally and internationally respected faith and public policy leader. He earned his bachelor's degree from Rutgers University in Newark and holds a Master of Public Management from the University of Maryland. In 2018, he was inducted into the Rutgers University African American Alumni Hall of Fame. And you know, God has a way of just working things out with Reverend Green because he served as a senior advisor for diversity, faith, urban, and regional growth under Governor Phil Murphy, where he helped shape inclusive public policy initiatives across the state of New Jersey. He was recently appointed to the Rutgers University Board of Trustees and also serves on the board of the Capitol Philharmonic. In addition, he is a member of the uh, New Jersey Amistad Commission. So, you know, he is just truly, truly grounded. A Rutgers graduate and now on the Board of Trustees of Rutgers University. That is fabulous, and we just need to applaud him for that. A seasoned political strategist, Reverend Green has advised heads of state and elected officials both nationally and internationally. He is also the founder of the Interfaith Action Movement. And I think that's how I'm on here tonight as the moderator. Um, an organization that is dedicated to addressing the spiritual, social, and economic needs of the marginalized and underserved communities, not just in New Jersey, but across the nation and around the globe. And one of the things that we do consistently for the past 6 years plus some days is to pray every morning from beginning at 8 o'clock a.m. And I am just so I'm just so glad that God led me to I am and I'm having this opportunity tonight. And so, Reverend Green, will you continue and just take us forward with our next step, and that is to introduce everyone.
Absolutely. Dr. Deborah, first of all, good evening, everyone, on this beautiful Wednesday evening to the Interfaith Action Movement, where our mission is to address the spiritual, social, and economic needs of underserved and marginalized communities throughout the state, nation, and the globe. We're doing just that. I want to give a special thank you to the legend, Reverend Dr. Deborah Stapleton. If you're from New Jersey, you know the name Reverend Dr. Deborah Stapleton. She has made her mark in the faith community, public policy community, philanthropic community, as a member of the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. We have the utmost respect for Dr. Deborah Stapleton and her husband, the great Harold Gibson, brother of the first African-American mayor of Newark, New Jersey, Mayor Ken Gibson. They are like family to me, and so honored to have someone like Dr. Deborah Stapleton in our presence and moderating this call on this evening. God bless you, Dr. Deborah. And I also would like to get right into it. We have the dynamic, and Dr. Deborah has already given her credentials. We have the dynamic Sister Jacqueline Limehouse, founder of My Sister's Lighthouse, who will welcome us to this symposium. Let's Talk series. Dr. Deborah, we've done so many of these, haven't we, over the last 6 years? And we will continue to do them. So, Sister Jackie, start us out here with some opening words. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. And thank you again, Reverend Green. This is fascinating. I have been enlightened by all these webinars, but this one is really piquing my curiosity. Friends, colleagues, supporters, thank you for being here. Today, we are exploring two often misunderstood yet deeply intertwined aspects of the human experience: neurodiversity and trauma. To understand the connection, we must first define the terms. And today, Dr. Brandi Walker will define those terms for us, a different wiring coined by sociologist Judy Singer in 1988. Neurodiversity is the concept that differences in human brains. Defining these terms: an overwhelmed system, the shared relationship, a double jeopardy, the increased vulnerability of this neurodiversity and trauma. Overlapping symptoms, the behaviors often attributed to trauma, making a survival mechanism. And moving forward with compassion and inclusion. Understanding this, we cannot treat trauma in a neurodiverse person without understanding the neurotype. Validation, we must stop pathological neurodivergent behaviors. A meltdown is often a sign of a high sensory load, not just a behavior issue. Safety first, support must prioritize safety, predictivity, and sensory comfort. Supportive environments. Instead of forcing individuals to change, we must create schools, workplace, and relationships that accommodate different ways of existing. Neurodiversity is the wiring, trauma, and the injury. While neurodiversity brains are not broken, they are often wounded by a world that refuses to understand them. By recognizing this shared relationship, we move away from the stigma and toward genuine compassion, support. Hold on to your seats. Get ready for a wonderful discussion on the strong connection between trauma and neurodiversity as we continue with our intergenerational series. I hope this will leave you with practical ideas to implement. We need more than just a fleeting moment. We need to build sustainable connections. Again, thank you for listening. Neurodiversity and trauma.
Wow. Wow. Thank you Jackie, you
Thank
nailed it. You nailed it. Thank you so much. We're gonna continue to move. We thank my sister's lighthouse. And for the record, everyone, this is, by the way, being live streamed. So welcome those that are watching it right now, and then those that will watch it in the future. We thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. Just last night, I was at dinner, and I was at dinner with a group of people, and one of the ladies that was there, I showed her the flyer about tonight, and she said, I am neurodivergent. And she didn't find out until she was 28 years old. 28 years old. So this is something that is extremely important. It is an absolute honor for me to introduce our special guest. I have to say, I met Dr. Brandi last year, and I feel like I've known her all my life. She is brilliant expert in this area. Dr. Brandi Brandora Walker, PhD, founder, Voice for Neurodiversity. Dr. Brandi Walker is a licensed clinical and research psychologist and former Army officer with over a decade of experience serving service members, veterans, and families. She is the founder of Marie Pauline Consulting LLC and VOICE for Neurodiversity, a nonprofit focused on improving quality of life and access to care for neurodiverse communities. Her expertise includes trauma, ADHD, autism, and holistic wellness. And she's a proud graduate of Howard University in Washington, D.C. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to present Dr. Brandi Brandora Walker, PhD, as our speaker on this evening. Dr. Brandi, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. It's always a pleasure. Appreciate you, Reverend Green, and I have honored our friendship from the day I met you. So thank you. Sister Jackie, Dr. Stapleton, it's an absolute pleasure to be a part of this conversation with the Interfaith Action Movement on the Let's Talk series. You all heard a little bit about my bio, so I am not going to talk about me. I'm going to talk about this topic. I'm going to share my screen so you all can see 1,000 slides, but I promise I will not give you 1,000 slides today. 1 second. All right, and I'm going to try to go to the slideshow. Hopefully it'll let me play. All right, everybody see the screen? Okay. So Voice for Neurodiversity stands for Villages Overcoming Intersections, Collaborative Empowerment for Neurodiversity. Over the years, doing research in the realm of neurodiversity, and we'll talk about what that is, I have had the honor and the privilege of learning how dynamic a brain is, particularly when it has significant differences in how it functions or how it's structured or both. In that journey, we have seen that people of color have a tendency to not get the resources that they need, the information that they need. They may not have the awareness, and time and time again, we always need a village, no matter what. So we came up with Villages Overcoming Intersections. Those intersections are all of the different challenges that come together and accumulate for an individual. So we create community, and we do it collaborating with other organizations. So Voice for Neurodiversity is all about educating around neurodiversity and also co-occurring conditions. So here are some things we'll talk about today. We'll get as far as we can go. I'll give you my disclosure because I'm supposed to tell everybody when I'm talking that I'm not representing all these other entities, just myself. So I will do that. We might do a quick icebreaker because who doesn't like to break ice? And then I'll tell you what neurodiversity is. I'll talk about the brain. I'll keep it cool. I won't give you a ton of science. And then we'll talk a little bit about trauma, but you all know about trauma, so I'll just help you understand that connection. And maybe we can conversate about resilience too. So here's my disclaimer. The views expressed in this presentation are those of the author. They do not reflect the official policy or position of the Department of the Army, Department of Defense, DHA. Remember Doge? I guess that's not a thing no more. We don't represent the U.S. government, Henry Jackson Foundation, which is one of my employers, or anybody else that I worked for. Okay. So our icebreaker today, what cartoon character do you identify with or remind yourself of, and why? So just think about that. You got about 30 seconds to think about what cartoon character you identify with. Now, if you're able to operate in the chat, you go ahead and throw in the chat what cartoon character it is and why. Wish we had some of that Jeopardy music. That's okay. All right, you got about 10 more seconds. All right. Everybody figured out what cartoon character that they identify with and have figured out, why. Okay, I'm gonna take a quick look. I just want to see what people are saying. Oh, the Roadrunner, yes. Wonder Woman, yes. Speed Racer, yes. That is a perfect fit for you. Okay. So as you're still putting in what cartoon character you remind yourself of, let's talk about for me, I like Pinky and the Brain, if y'all remember them. And I always felt like sometimes I went between the two. Sometimes I felt like I was Brain, we're gonna take over the world. And then sometimes I felt like Pinky and I was like, what are we gonna do today? And that's me in my little military uniform joining the crew. And one thing about cartoon characters, what do we know about them and their personalities, right? Universally, they're resilient. They get over challenges. They don't really ever look like what they've been through as soon as they get through it, right? Generally, they are who they are. They are authentic to their characters. We accept them for who they are. Even the evil villains heal. Everybody comes back. They're relatable, they're accessible, and they don't generally hide. Now, one thing about neurodiversity and trauma is that it's hard to be resilient. Sometimes we really do look like what we've been through. We have a hard time accepting who we are. Sometimes we have a hard time feeling accepted or feeling like we belong. And we don't know about our evil villains. Sometimes they don't necessarily heal, those who have hurt us in some way, shape, or form. Sometimes we may not be accessible, or the resources we need may not be accessible. And we know how to hide and we know how to avoid. And the key to resilience is being able to accept what we've been through, whatever lemons we felt we were dealt with or had experienced in the course of our life. We squeeze it, we make our lemonade, we keep it moving. So These are just critical ages across the developmental life cycle. The developmental life cycle is just how we grow up from the time that you're born, critical ages. So, of course, immediately following birth, our brains are in a very sensitive and unique developmental space. Kindergarten, third grade, fifth grade, sixth and eighth grade, your freshman year of high school, junior year of high school, freshman year of college. These are critical ages a lot of times because socially we are, navigating life. We're finding our independence. We may be academically being stretched at certain, these certain age groups, or our bodies are going through puberty and we're, going through some type of biological change, or, it's a transition, a major transition. You might be, as a kid, leaving elementary school and going to middle school, or going from middle school to high school. Now, these are significantly critical if you have a neurodevelopmental condition. Okay, so let's talk about what neurodiversity is and what neurotypical is. You may have heard these terms before. Neurodiversity is the range of differences in an individual's brain function and their behavioral traits. It's regarded as part of normal variation in the human population, used especially in a context of autistic spectrum disorder, and most recently ADHD, but also other specific learning challenges or impairments. Neurodiversity is really explaining how a brain has developed differently from a normal brain that doesn't encounter these challenges. So when we talk about neurodiversity, we're talking about neurological, developmental conditions or disorders. The term neurodiversity has been brought into the picture over the last 10 to 15 years to help people not feel like something is wrong with them, but just that their brain is different. Neurotypical describes a person whose brain functions, their ability to think and reason, they are generally normal according to like society standards. Okay, so a brain that works differently means that that individual probably thinks different. They may communicate different. It may take them longer time to process information. It may take them longer time to communicate effectively. It may take them longer to read nonverbal communication. And we see that in autism spectrum disorder. Behaviorally, it may be somebody who can't manage their emotions quickly enough, or may experience ups and downs in their emotions more frequently. You might see behaviors like somebody being impulsive in how they think or how they behave. And then they also may be more oppositional or more aggressive or more hesitant or more avoidant. And some of that is because of how the brain is operated differently, but it also could be how over time, they've just had so many negative experiences because their brain works differently, that other things like anxiety or depression may develop. Okay. If you have a question as we go along, you can throw it in a chat. So I built this chart and oh my gosh, I know it is a lot, right? A lot of colors, it's confusing, but it's really to help you understand that green area, the big green space is basically where most people fall in terms of how their brain works. And it's basically saying the way that a person remembers things, the way that they're able to solve problems, the way that they're able to do things at a speed that is kind of on the same wavelength as the other parts of the brain. If all of that is generally, equal across the brain, they're probably not experiencing neurodiversity. They won't have a diagnosis like ADHD. They won't have a diagnosis like autism or dyslexia or dyscalculia or even being gifted, right? Because that is a brain that's working differently. It works in some ways smarter and quicker and stronger, but in other ways, not so fast, or there may be challenges understanding something. And so, depending on how different the brain is within itself, kind of helps understand that they will probably have more challenges. And so you can see how it spans out where you go from green, and maybe if you go to the left, it's orange, meaning your brain is not functioning in some ways as strong as others. And the greater that difference is, the more challenges you may have with things like verbal ability, being able to solve problems and think, particularly executive functions. And those are how the brain does major important things like organize information or organize materials, how the brain plans, as well as how the brain solves problems, how you remember things, how you manage your emotions, okay, how you manage time. So those particular areas are impacted. And when that happens, that person generally has problems in other areas of their life, in relationships, on the job, at school, and so forth, okay? So just being mindful of that. Um, the same is true for a brain that is very, very brilliant and is extremely what we would call exceptional, meaning they're not in that green area, they're in the blue or purple area, and they have brilliance in different things, maybe math, maybe reading or comprehension, maybe writing, but they're still have challenges some other areas of their life. And a lot of times that's in the social domains. Again, communicating, being able to maintain relationships. And that difference in the brain is what makes life challenging for them. Okay. So this chart also just helps you understand that intelligence is not measured in one or two ways. Society will tell us if you're not book smart, you're not smart. The right side shows us that brilliance can be seen across other areas, right? We have creativity in our athleticism, our music, theater, acting, writing, storytelling, designing, decorating, hair and clothing fashion. We set the standard in so many areas in so many ways. So a neurodiverse brain, while different and while it has challenges, is very powerful and beautiful and should be celebrated. Okay. I'm going to mute for 1 second. 1 second. Sorry, I had somebody at my door. Okay, so executive function, just as I said, it's a set of mental skills that include working memory, flexible thinking, and self-control. We use these skills every day to learn, work, and manage our daily life. And trouble with executive function can make it hard. It can make it hard to focus, it can make it hard to follow directions, handle emotions, amongst other things. And again, I just encourage you to think about what this looks like for a person in their day-to-day life, whether it's a child, whether it's an adult, um, or yeah, child or adult. I also want you to think about other areas of life. So think about relationships. Think about how executive functioning, right? If you have challenges with planning and thinking or processing information or managing your emotions, how do you manage your life? Well, if you grow up and your brain has this neurodiversity, there's a strong possibility that you're not getting the help that you need if it's never been diagnosed. So it may take you much longer to get schoolwork done, or you might be the person in a classroom that has such a challenge that you don't want to talk about You don't want to be called on. You don't even want to be there. In your household, you may have challenges. Somebody may tell you, "Oh, you being lazy. You're just not motivated." And in actuality, your brain could be quite different. And so that could be problematic. It could be problematic in a school setting as well as on a job if you keep forgetting things. If you have trouble managing your finances. And what's really interesting is if you've experienced some challenges, growing up in school and you had challenges with maybe keeping your room clean or doing things around the house, staying on top of your chores or things like that, the possibility of neurodiversity could be very real, and it could be the thing that might have been undermining your success over time. So again, these are just those key areas that are impacted by challenges with executive functions. Let's talk a little bit about brain development and pull it together. So brain development is impacted by exposure to adverse or traumatic events. Okay. So I want you to think about the history of people of color, really the history of anybody in the United States that is not necessarily of the Caucasian race. Because about the BIPOC community, Black, Indigenous, our Latin brothers and sisters, Latino brothers and sisters, Asian, people have had some significant experiences during their time in the United States. And for African Americans, we've certainly had our share. And because we have had traumatic experience back to back to back to back from the time Black people entered the country in the status of slave, from Jim Crow to towns being burnt down, there's a lot of trauma that has been historic. And that narrative has not stopped. So it may look different over time and things have changed, but what used to be a physical slavery could now be what happens financially for us or what happens in a prison system. And being so many people being on probation. And that is another form of not just slavery, but trauma. And so when we think about all of these experiences that our people have had historically, our body carries the trauma and it impacts our health from the way that our brains develop to what happens with our genes. And that could be our genes may carry the capability to be really sensitive to stress, which means we can develop anxiety, we can develop depression, we can experience trauma symptoms, and that could just be historically stored in our bodies. And that expresses when we deal with real-time stress. So babies are affected. And of course, we all have been a baby before, but so is the development of the brain. And when the brain is impacted and certain structures are impacted by stress or trauma, like the frontal or prefrontal cortex, basal ganglia, the parietal and temporal cortici, like all these different parts of the brain can be impacted by stress and trauma, which affects how the brain, the structures of the brain, like the size and shapes, but also those special capabilities that each of those parts of the brain has. So functionally, they're not doing the things that they're supposed to, or they may not do it as frequently or to the extent that it's expected at a particular age. And so when the brain doesn't develop the way that it needs to, you may not see it from the outside looking in. Like you can see a broke arm, you can see somebody who's has an injured leg, but somebody whose brain is working differently, you're not gonna notice it out the gate unless it's pretty severe, or you just start noticing in their daily life habits, if that makes sense. And so that's why we say executive function and regulating our emotions and managing our emotions is impacted. environmental factors can also influence the gene expression of these different things, right? Lack of resources, not having proper access to care, despair conditions. I mean, we're in despair conditions now. So just food for thought about this relationship. Now, what are some stressful traumatic experiences? I don't feel like I have to tell you all, but here are a few. Neglect, sexual abuse, domestic violence, going through a divorce. For our service members, fighting a war, or dealing with civil unrest, right? If say you have family that are have migrated from somewhere else, them and what they're dealing with now is traumatic. So we have these real-time experiences, even climate changes and the shift in the climate and what that means for farmers or for people who have built a life around agriculture. There's so many ways that we are being impacted by things that are happening in our climate or our atmosphere, in our society, and then of course in our homes and our households, and in how we cope. So if you have a brain that's not functioning the way it needs to be, you may be, you know, coping with it in a way that's not healthy, but gets you through. That could be substance use. It could be a sexual addiction. It could be pornography. I mean, it could be a lot of things. We do a lot of stuff to get our minds off of what we're dealing with or what we're going through. And so we can be re-traumatized by our unhealthy way of managing our problems. So, you know, I'm just saying, everyone is impacted by trauma. Some slowly degrade. Some develop mental health compromises. Anger, depression, suicide is a high risk for the trauma that people experience because of how it impacts their body and their mind. Undiagnosed, misdiagnosed, neurodiversity, a lot of times that may be at the root of a person's problems because your brain is not functioning the way you need it to function. And if you knew, but you didn't know how to get the help that you need, you may deal with it in an unhealthy way. Or you may have dealt with it, but just struggled. Everything was a struggle. You may have given up on a lot of things just because the brain wasn't functioning the way you needed to. Or there might be something wrong with your brain and you like, I know something is off, but I don't even care. Like, I'm not going to do nothing about it because I don't need some doctor telling me that something else is wrong with me and I got all these other things happening. So I don't want the stigma. I don't want to know if something's going on with my kid. We just going to knuckle through. Yeah, that sounds like strong, but at the end of the day, it's probably not wise. Our family systems are broken. Our prison population is insane because of this. Honestly, they say 30 to 40% of the people that are incarcerated have some form of neurodiversity. They're ADHD, attention deficit hyperactive disorder. Some are autistic. Some have specific learning disabilities with math, English, reading, different things. And if that was resolved or it got the attention that it needed or the accommodations that it need, they would be fine. They would be able to live their life, right? They may not hate school so much or think that they won't be successful at school because of a struggle. And of course, we know all of the disparities that we're dealing with right now, economically, politically, all of this stuff matters and makes a difference. So I'm just going to say that one of the other things that we deal with is disparity and racism, structural racism, and that's more the systems that we grow up in or are born into, and that could be in these different gears. So it could be the medical system or the media. It could be education, different school, classrooms, 38 kids, one teacher. Certainly the neighborhoods that we live in and the neighborhoods that we are not allowed to live in. the ceilings that we meet when we're trying to earn our earning power, or kept at jobs that only give us minimum wage. And as I mentioned, our prison system, sometimes the struggle in school is it kind of shows a strong path to prison, only because of people getting in trouble and having all these issues when they just and then encountering a system that is not fair and that is not doesn't give a lot of chances. So I'll spare you all on this particular slide. And I just want to know how we are on time. Are we out of time, or do we got like a few minutes? Like y'all
You
tell
have
me.
you have a few more minutes. We don't have Q&A until the last 10 or 5 minutes. So
Okay, I got a few minutes. Okay, I think probably I got like 5 or 6 minutes. So
Like we say in church, Dr. Brandi, take your time.
I appreciate that. So, I've highlighted what the impact of untreated or misdiagnosed or undertreated neurodiversity is. This just shows you're gonna have relationship challenges if your brain works different than a person that you're with. If the person that you with has a neurodiverse brain and you have one too, oh my gosh, right? Thinking that we can get through life without treating these things means that yeah, you could get through life, but it's going to be more of a struggle. So the goal is to acknowledge that yeah, you know what, I've had these issues. I'm always forgetting stuff. Um, I have trouble with learning. My learning style I've always had problems with that. Yeah, oh, managing my emotions. Oh my gosh, organizing. I have such a struggle organizing my things. People say make a plan. I don't even know where to begin. I mean, when you start noticing there's a pattern of these challenges or a pattern in our relationships and how we communicate. If there's a lot of impatience, a lot of impulsivity, uh, those could be indicators that your brain might be a little bit different. And different isn't bad. Different means you need different tools and skills to manage. As you can see, families that deal with undiagnosed or undertreated neurodiversity, there's a lot of parental distress. There's a lot of instability and interpersonal conflict. And what do we know about instability and interpersonal conflict? It breeds domestic violence. And we know domestic violence can be highly traumatic, and it can put us in a cycle where we continue to enter one um, unhealthy relationship after the other, or we create an unhealthy environment for our kids, not intentionally, but just because this is all we know. Skills and tools. It's kind of like having a car and you're in your car, right? You're riding down the road, you listen to your favorite song, maybe some of that SWV. Um, you know, a week, oh my gosh, I ride the block for days. But anyway, so you got your favorite song playing and you're on a highway, and then your check engine light comes on, and you're like, oh my gosh, I just got my oil change. I don't know what that is. But anyway, your car starts slowing down and you stop. And so when you stop, you have, a nice insurance company, AAA or USAA or Nationwide, they're always on your side, right? So you can contact them and say, hey, my car stopped. The check engine light is on. I don't know what's going on. And I say, hey, we'll send somebody out. They'll be there within 30 to 40 minutes. And so you're like, okay, cool. And so 30 to 40 minutes later, somebody shows up, but it's not what you're expecting. So when our car breaks down, we're expecting a tow truck, to show up just in case they got to tow it, but they might know how to figure it out. But this person shows up on a bike. And when they roll up on a bike, they got a tool belt on, but it's got a hammer and a screwdriver. And they knock on your window and they're like, hey, I'm from Nationwide and I'm here to fix your car. Do you want that person working on your car? And how far can they get with a hammer and a screwdriver? But this is how we show up to our problems and our issues. we have one or two tools that don't really serve us well. Even if they do serve us well, they don't get us all the way through. We need a village, and we need to find out what's going on for us. So just getting the information. And then if we find out that there is something, then we get the care that we need. We create a village of resources and people that we can trust, and we work through our stuff and we thrive. That's all I got. I'm going to share my last slide just so you can have my contact information if you're interested in reaching out. And then we can open it up for questions. If you all want these slides, I can share them. Of course, I didn't go through everything, but it's all good.
Wow. Wow, wow, and wow. Sister Jackie, now you understand why God brought us together
Yeah.
to link up with experts like Dr.
Oh,
Brandi.
man. Dr.
I mean,
Brandi.
this is powerful.
Yes.
Powerful, powerful, powerful.
You helped me to understand a whole lot more today
Oh, yeah.
than I did
Oh,
before.
yeah.
My granddaughter, was diagnosed with Asperger. And sometimes, and she's now going on 22, but she's a whiz in school. She's in her second year. I was writing it second year of medical school, but she still has a problem telling time and counting money. And she will have some of the biggest anxieties when it comes to grades because she's always this, she can do the schoolwork, but when it comes to socially, she's still like a little girl. So, you helped me to understand all that today. And I thank you because sometimes I think that she should be further, but I didn't understand what the diagnosis meant and how to deal with it because as a grandmother, she didn't even like to be hugged. And I used to say, grandmother's hug, come here. But I didn't know it bothered her. So now she's older and then now we're able to talk about things. So thank you, thank you, thank you. This was excellent.
Thank you. I'm so proud of her. Yes, in medical
She's
school.
amazing.
Yes, yes. And I appreciate you for just being okay with her, being unique, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And that's
Yes.
absolutely what you saw was the differences in the brain.
Yeah. Because now that makes me understand that they use a part of the brain we don't. And all of this put it into context for me. And so now I know how to deal with her a lot better. So
Yeah.
And
thank you.
Sister Jackie,
Yes.
one of the parts that I really picked up was the particularly the women that you work with
Yes.
and the trauma that they have to
Yes.
go through, the children that you work with
So
because of the domestic violence
that's right.
and how it impacts our response. Dr. Brandi, if you could just go through that again so that Sister Jackie can get that again because we work
Yeah.
with a lot of people that are victims of domestic violence.
Yes.
Yeah. So what tends to happen when somebody has neurodiversity is that they may have challenges in relationships with communication or managing their emotions. And so imagine not being able to manage your anger or your frustration or your hurt. Somebody says something and you taking it, you may pop off, right?
Wow.
And how you pop off, it could be you might do it with your mouth. You might pick up and throw something. I mean, and this is why there's such a strong relationship between neurodiversity and the prison system, because people are making like rash decisions. Their brain is not helping them think it through and reason, right? Whether it's managing your emotions get out of control and you just react, um, or your ability to think about how to get through a difficult life situation. So you're having problems in school instead of, accessing resources and learning what really is the issue. You're like, I just drop out, forget it. I can give me a job. And then you start down that path of dealing with, life. And you know how it is. You get a job today, but if it's a job and not a career, right? And so you get into the hustle and bustle and the struggle, and it's persistent. Sometimes that's what it looks like for someone with neurodiversity, or just not being able to manage your finances because, like Jacqueline said, that part of the brain is not working. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't count. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, well, forget it. Would they say, oh, $700? Okay, I'll just pay it. You may not know that you're being like cheated or something like that. And it's not because you're like not intellectually smart, right? Because having neurodiversity is not a question of intelligence. You can be extremely intelligent and have ADHD or autism or something like that. It just means that the brain is not on the same sheet of music across the board. And that's where the challenges is processing the information quickly enough or remembering things quickly enough, or both of those issues.
Well,
There you go.
you hit the jackpot.
Wow. Absolutely. Wow.
Yeah, it actually opened up avenues for you to understand so much more, not just domestic. You understand why people self-medicate.
Oh my
And
gosh.
you said so much stuff about how people just give up because they don't want to deal with the challenges, or they don't want to face what they're dealing with. So they either self-medicate or give up. And you open up avenues for me to even help these people, because I've learned that when they sit down in my chair, they may come to me for housing, but these people are broken in so many pieces, like I was. And I had to go under the bed, in the closet, in my coat pocket, and all those places to find me, to
Yeah.
put me back together. Thank God he showed me how to do that. But I realized that I have to do the same with these people, because some of them are really challenged. And now you know why. They are
Yeah.
like they are. You help me. Not just so
Well,
thank you. And you
I
need to send me some of this information.
Oh
Let's chat
yeah.
and let's talk about this. Let's dig deeper and to help my community, because I want to change the mindset of these women.
That's right.
I
That's right.
want to change, I want to help them realize there's better, there's more
That's absolutely
than
right.
what it is out there. And that if they give somebody an opportunity to help them to change their mindset, they can, the belief is
Yeah.
where we want to go with that.
Oh my gosh.
Huh?
Yeah.
Let me stop. Ooh, good. I'm gonna stop.
Well, this has just been amazing.
Thank you, Dr. Steve.
We're closing out, but we're gonna replay this
Yeah.
on our I Am YouTube page, and other social media outlets that we have. It's been so powerful, and Dr. Brandi, we thank God for your work, your commitment to excellence,
Yeah.
and to academia, so that you can empower your people.
Yeah.
And we thank God for you. Want to I want to thank a few people that put this together, our team. I want to thank Marilyn Rivera, who serves as our executive producer. She is with Conexion, a powerful Latina sister who is really taking us to the next level in all of our communications. And we thank God for her. We thank God for Elise Hall, our special projects director, who is also a producer of this Let's Talk series as well, and all of your expertise. Elise, thank you. We thank God for Curtis Samoa. Curtis is a student in Texas. I met him at Afrotech, and Curtis is our technical director. And we thank God for Curtis. we're able to stream it live because of Curtis. We thank God for Miss Irene Daniels, who is the operations director for Interfaith Action Movement. And of course, our moderator, worship leader, Reverend Dr. Deborah Stapleton. And she will have our last word to close us out. Dr. Deborah, you have the floor.
Wow, I don't know that I need to have a last word. I think that the word has been given. Dr. Brandi Walker, you have been phenomenal. And so it is something that we need to talk about and continue to learn about the neurodiversity. And so I just really appreciate this opportunity to be a part of the conversation and listening to you. And perhaps you really should have the last word. It's always the last word. What is the last word going forward? And Sister Limehouse, thank you so much. And Reverend Green, thank you, because this Let's Talk series is powerful and it will change. It
Yeah.
will bring about change in our community. Um, if we had just a word, Dr. Brandi Walker, what would that word be? What would the word be that we could just bring closure for tonight?
Reclamation.
Amen. Reclamation.
Reclamation.
Wow.
Rec-
Reclamation.
Yes, we reclaim what we've lost. We
Okay.
establish our boundaries in our relationships so that they can be healthy.
Wow.
We reclaim our respect, our pride, our sense of who we are. Reclamation.
Reclamation. So we
Wow.
will reclaim
Yeah.
reclamation. And on that note, I say good night and God bless you all for
Wow.
participating. Thank you so much. God bless you.
God bless you.
Reclamation. Remember that
Reclamation.
word. Powerful word.
Yes, it is.
We are going to reclaim
Our community.
our
That's right.
community, our power.
That's
Mm.
right. Amen.
And we're going
I
to
got
also reclaim our relationships.
well, that's right. That's right.
Amen.
Healthy, healthy,
Reclamation.
healthy.
Thank
Amen.
you so much.
Yes. I gotta go. I got the word for the night for the prayer meeting, so I gotta go. Okay. Bye. I gotta do the message.
Good night. Good
Good
I gotta
night.
night,
do the message.
everybody.
Good night.
Good night.